friend, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot. When I was at Findhorn, I met this extraordinary English tree expert who had devoted his life to saving trees. Just got back from Washington, lobbying to save the redwoods. He's 84 years old. He always travels with a backpack because he never knows where he's going to be tomorrow. And when I met him at Findhorn, he said to me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "New York." He said, "New York, yes, that's a very interesting place. Do you know a lot of New Yorkers who keep talking about the fact that they want to leave but never do?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "Why do you think they don't leave?" I gave him different banal theories. He said, "Oh, I don't think it's that way at all." He said, "I think that New York is the new model for the new concentration camp, where the camp has been built by the inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they've built. They've built their own prison, and so they exist in a state of schizophrenia, where they are both guards and prisoners, and as a result, they no longer have, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made, or to even see it as a prison." And then he went into his pocket and he took out a seed for a tree and he said, "This is a pine tree." He put it in my hand and he said, "Escape before it's too late." See, actually for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. And we really feel like Jews in Germany in the late 30s. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction. See, I think it's quite possible that the 1960s represented the last burst of the human being before he was extinguished, and that this is the beginning of the rest of the future now, that from now on there'll simply be all these robots walking around, feeling nothing, thinking nothing, and there'll be nobody left almost to remind them that there once was a species called a human being.
My name is Chase Parrish. This is Red Space. Big tech is watching. Government systems are growing and privacy fading. Yet what if this wasn't about surveillance, yet only structure? Meet Peter Theil. Years ago, a buddy of mine passed me a dossier on him, long before his name ever started surfacing at family dinner tables or behind political briefings. That friend of mine is Mahai, an investment banker from Harvard who is tracking Theil's movements like a Wall Street predator with a scent in the air. When there's a billionaire in the room, you don't just march right up to the dude. You orbit the unicorn. You hover near the gravity of his crew. You listen, you watch. Because billionaires don't speak first. They signal. Theil was signaling something. Something big. His company Palantir is feared, connecting government data, immigration records, fraud detection, and national security intel into one usable platform. Palantir provides the infrastructural beams for Trump's protective dome, the firewall for keeping out government corruption, chaos, and globalist infiltration. Proverbs 29:2. When the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. But when the wicked beareth rule, the people mourn. Theil's system happens to be a double-edged sword. Without Trump's tight constitutional vision, that same infrastructure can become a cage instead of a dome. Under radical leadership, the tools Theil created could be turned inward, watching citizens, targeting Christians, and censoring dissent. But if the possibility of abuse was enough to stop a thing from being built, then we shouldn't build guns, because they could be used for murder. We shouldn't build churches, because somebody might preach heresy. We shouldn't build printing presses, because it could spread lies and propaganda. We shouldn't build AI infrastructure, because it could become surveillance. The Second Amendment actually protects the right of we the people to keep and bear arms, not just only the federal government. The founders understood that if only the government held the power, the people were subjects, not citizens. If Theil, through Palantir, and the federal government can build massive systems that map the lives of citizens, yet citizens cannot access, audit, or protect themselves with the same tools, then we've created a digital equivalent of a disarmed population. This imbalance is what creates tyranny, whether through bullets or bites. The average citizen is now outgunned physically, outcoded digitally, and outwatched legally. They have weapons we can't own, tools we can't see, and files we can't open. And that is un-American. Now, let me walk you down Fifth Avenue very quickly. Manhattan is an island with a limited number of bridges, tunnels. It naturally creates a sense that it could be sealed off if the wrong power structure took control. In movements of unrest, access points could be locked down, making people feel trapped, whether by natural disaster, terrorism, or even martial law. NYC has one of the most heavily surveilled public spaces in America. Cameras, facial recognition systems, digital trolling systems. There's often a visual police, federal, or even military presence, especially during political or global events and unrest. To many, NYC isn't just a city, it's a capital of global finance, cultural manipulation, and central power. That can trigger subconscious tension for those who feel prophetic unease about Babylon like structures of power. 9/11 happened there. It was a central hub for the COVID lockdowns, mandates, and military logistics. These memories add a layer of collective anxiety tossed to mass control and state power. We live in a world where billionaires can control code, borders, elections, even biology. But they cannot control the one who spoke the universe into being. The systems of men reach for heaven. Only a people rooted in prayer will keep their feet on the ground. You can't code morality. You can't buy wisdom. The future will not be saved by circuits, but by consecration. And this is where I will end this one. This is Red Space. My name is Chase Parrish.